What's next is to keep going. In Travis's words, we can't lose momentum. This movement got started behind Breonna Taylor's name. So we have to continue to say her name, and then we have to say the name of our fallen soldiers at the same time. And unfortunately, my brother, he lost his life behind the movement. And I just really feel like we have to keep going because he would. So we're all exhausted, we're all tired, we're all hurt, but we have to keep going.
This is the question that I've been wanting somebody to ask me. Why are we not out here protesting businesses? Why do our neighborhood look the way that our neighborhood looks? And we can go out here in the neighborhood is prestige and beautiful, and it ain't a piece of trash on the ground, but down the way we look at it looks like the recycling center. You know what I'm saying? We don't have no stores. We don't have no businesses that we can really go shop for. We have to go to the white neighborhoods in order to go shop for the nice things that we want. You want a nice pair of shoes? You got to go to the white neighborhoods. There's no Foot Lockers down here. There's not no real clothing stores down here. So we're forced to go out this way to do it. I feel like we should start setting up shop.
What is next is honestly the most difficult question that we have received in the past 6 months. After the murder of Travis Nagdy, at this point, we are at a standstill. About 6 leaders, we are at the point to where we don't know what's next. We are now in a moment of figuring out what is next. We don't have direction, and our goal is to take this moment to figure out what our next steps are. Security is very important, but more important than security is going into our next steps with the correct momentum, trying our best to be not necessarily peaceful, but nonviolent, but really figuring out what it is that we are aiming for. Politics is very important to the Breonna Taylor movement because we all know that politics plays a major role, and it has played a major role for over 60 years. We have noticed that our ancestors, some of which have died in the exact same way as Travis Nagdy, has died for the exact same things that we are fighting for, and our goal is to make sure that our grandkids and great-grandkids does not have to go through this exact same thing. So we don't know at this moment what's next. We don't. So our main goal is to try to get a sit down with all our major leaders and figure out what it is that, what liberation means to all of us, what that looks like, and where we can actually go with that. I think that we're gonna come up with an agenda of 10 and figure out what those 10 items are and really aim for those 10 things. But as of right now, we don't have an answer of what's next. But I do know that we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going because that's what Travis Nagdy would want for us. It's for us to keep going, and we are not stopping by far. We just have to take this time to evaluate what is important to us and figure that out and go from there. So.
One, I think everybody needs to get a grip on what they're feeling and how they're feeling it, and to feel it. The idea right now is to to keep going, to move forward, to let's not stop the momentum, which is important. But the question is, how do we keep going? How do we take everything that we're experiencing right now through our grief and the loss and just how we feel of losing somebody like Travis, my Jesus. How do we go forward with this pain that we're carrying? And the answer is we got to do everything that we can for mental health. There's services that are free for protesters. We have to maintain ourselves so that we don't lose ourselves in the surmounting pressure, because this is what they want us to do. That's the whole reason that they do these things. That's the whole reason that they allow these types of things to happen. And we have to not let it get us off kilter as much as we possibly can, but at the same time understand that we are human. So we have to feel it. We have to purge it. We have to grieve it. We have to understand it. We have to seek help. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves spiritually, mentally, and physically. Because if we don't have those three things, we don't have anything. If we don't have those three things, we're just going around in orbit, not being effective. And every single thing that we do, it has to be effective. Every single thing that we do has to be intentional. Everything that we do has to be part of a larger plan. And all of that together, coming to one point, is how we're going to keep going. And we can't keep going the way we need to, fragmented. We all have to come together. We all have to be one united front for Black liberation.
The West, which has fed over 31,000 West End residents in the last few months. I'm also the owner of Black Market. And for me, there's a lot of answers to what's next. Specifically, we've been on the ground, Black Lives Matter Louisville and other organizations, to fight for justice for Breonna Taylor. One big thing is that we want Breonna's law to be a national thing. No-knock warrants have hurt so many people, particularly Black and marginalized people. And so some of the next steps include getting that to be nationwide. It also includes amplifying the stories of people who have been hurt by police terrorism. We have a lot of unseen trauma in the West End specifically because folks are not tracking what it's like when police officers burst into your home, or when they're harassing you, or every time you go to the grocery store there's a police presence. People in the East End don't deal with that. That's one of the reasons why in the West End we tend to live 10 to 15 years shorter than people in the East End, and we have a lower quality of life. There are 3 or 4 dialysis centers in the West End. We have all the negative health indicators. And so that feeds into things like gentrification, which leads to things like what happened to Breonna Taylor. And so we want to address all those things. And Black Market is combating the food apartheid by recognizing the intersections of oppression that exist. And again, fighting against police terrorism, white supremacy, and sort of liberal inaction.
As far as what I think is next for Louisville, my answer is simply, I really couldn't tell you. Part of my job is to record history and to follow what the people want. I'm led by the people. So honestly, it's the people that are going to tell me what's next for the city. What I personally hope to see is more unity, more love, more faith, but most importantly, more justice. I think that with some of the conversations that are being held right now, there seems to be some small modicum of hope. And as long as we have open hearts and open ears and open minds, and we keep the right thing to do at the forefront of everything we do, we have hope in this city. So I think that the people are more than open to having these conversations and wanting to move forward for change. And I'm gonna let them lead that and tell me what's next. And wherever the people go, I will be there. I will follow.
I grew up in an international neighborhood. I was the only white kid, one of 2 white kids on the street actually growing up. So, you know, I thought that I had this edge of knowing, of being woke. And my heart has cracked wide open as a result of these last 180, what day are we on? 186? 85? Seeing the resilience of the Black community is one that's indescribable. And I want to say this in particular to white folks. Just because it's not happening to you does not mean that it's not happening. I've seen peaceful protesters. The evening that struck me most was the evening, I think it was the 3rd evening that we were occupying the square. No, it was the 2nd evening. And there was a beautiful performance going on in the square. There were poets and musicians, and there was even a call to accept Jesus. You know, that's not my thing. But it was beautiful that was all inclusive, and there was this community coming together. And in the next moment, there was this loudspeaker. This is the LMPD. This is an unlawful gathering. If you do not disperse, we will release chemical agents. Chemical agents, the threat of chemical agents. Police and riot gear showed up. And I thought, it was surreal. They were threatening this beautiful, peaceful gathering of Black people. For what? Because they were standing up for justice? Because they were standing up for the right thing? They were standing up for justice for Breonna Taylor. They were standing up to say, hello, we must end systemic racism. Get curious, white people. Please get curious. And understand, again, just because it's not happening to you does not mean that it's not happening. The beauty of this community is amazing. The resiliency. You put a roadblock here, okay, well, I'll just move like water, is what I see. People moving like water to say no. You cannot disable me. People know their power. People know, this community knows their worthiness. And the Buddha said, your opinion of me is none of my business. And that's what I see. People standing in their power. People standing up for what they know to be true and correct. And I have been honored to, these young people especially, many of them started calling me auntie. We were a family. We are a family. We're the beloved community.
I think we didn't get no justice, and until I still say them officers need to be convicted, bring a new AG on, reopen the case, and make them accountable for their actions, because I think the AG didn't do his job, and we need somebody in that's gonna do their job and give us the justice that we need. We need justice for Travis. We need to know what happened. So the movement will continue, and we're gonna continue being out here fighting until we get justice. So I think for me, the next step is getting justice, because we haven't got no justice yet, so we can't step forward. We still in the same place, because we ain't got no justice. And another soldier done got taken. So I'm gonna be out here for the long haul. No justice, no peace.
I think there's a lot of options as to where we go from here. In the words of one of our young leaders who was tragically taken from us this past week, there's no question that we keep going, for sure. Where do we keep going? We keep climbing the mountain, and the top of that mountain is justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for many others, and the continued fight to end systemic racism. Primarily for me, that would be in law enforcement and in the courts, where my work is mostly, but everywhere. In our business institutions with employers, it's all over, unfortunately. I think folks need to keep marching, folks need to keep organizing, and I think one of the important things we saw in 2020, at least in this past month, is the value of and the importance of voting.
I mean, really, I guess I could put it to you like this, right? You know, there was an atrocity that happened at the start of all this, right? Breonna Taylor got killed. And I've been kind of saying the last couple weeks, right, like never let a travesty not give you an excuse to do something good in the world. But basically, like, try to make a positive out of everything. And I've witnessed our community over the last, 6-ish months, right? This horrible thing happened, and now there's community outreach, there's new friendships, there's community building, there's, positive impact in our community. And it's happened in a way that I've never been a part of before. I had at one point in time, like, lost faith in Louisville, right? And I have since regained that. And Travis's words that we all know is keep going, right? And really what's next is we keep going. We take people's dreams and ideas and we make them actionable realities. One of my favorite quotes, right, is action without a dream is just passing time. A dream without action is, well, just a dream, but a vision plus action can change the world, and I think Travis did a really good job giving us a nice vision, and now we can add some action to that, and we can really make more positive change in our community. We got to keep doing what we've done in the past 6 months, but we got to do it better, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Let's get back out there in these streets. Like, seriously. Let's block some stuff. Like I said, what would Travis do? We know he was radical. We know that this is what he would actually want. And I'm sorry. I miss my brother. I just wish he was here to help lead us.